What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video and back at the home base for the rest of this week, for a little bit of this week. We'll keep you updated on that, but again, appreciate you through this process. We are going to talk about Aaron Rodgers today because we got some good news from Aaron Rodgers over the weekend. And then we'll also talk about in the second half of the video, U Stadium shared the NFL coaches and executives and scouts, like their ratings of the quarterback position. And we'll talk about where Aaron Rodgers ended up falling on this list. But this past week, we saw Aaron Rodgers play in the 35th annual American Century Championship. It's a celeb golf tourney. We know Aaron Rodgers is an avid golfer. He likes to get out there whenever he can. But most importantly, it was surprisingly not him getting out on the golf course. It's something that he said in an interview to NBC Sports about his Achilles. So we have the Aaron Rodgers Achilles update. Let's give it to you. My Achilles feels good. You know, I felt really good at the end of last year. There's always that kind of plateau part. It's just about getting back into it. I felt good all spring. Had a beautiful trip to Egypt. This is like the last marker. Summer's over on Sunday. Walking up on 18 is like bittersweet, but it's fun to be out. What he is talking about, summer's over, is it is time to ramp the F up for football season, which is something that I am personally pumped up about. Next week is the beginning of training camp, so he's got to get back to New Jersey and start ramping up for a huge 2024 season. I know that he's excited about it. We're excited about it. It's a highly anticipated season. And the big storyline, there's so much surrounding the New York Jets this year. They are a very, very, very good roster. But I think the biggest question, and there are some questions with this team, is what is Aaron Rodgers going to be after the injury? 40 years old, coming off an Achilles injury. What could we possibly expect from a guy at that point in his career? Now, if you remember from last year, he got hurt 4 plays into the season, barely got to see any of Aaron Rodgers with the New York Jets. It was really unfortunate circumstances, but he made a strong push to come back. He got himself to a point where he was practicing with the New York Jets. Unfortunately, they were out of it at the point where he was trying to make his return, so we had to wait a little bit longer to get Aaron Rodgers back out on the field. The biggest thing for me is that there are no restrictions for him getting out there and practicing coming up for training camp. I want to see him get on the same page with all the wide receivers and get things moving in the right direction, because this is, while I guess in a way, some of it's like year one because we didn't really get a chance to see him actually play in regular season games for the Jets. This is year 2 in the offense, year 2 in the system, and there are bigger and better expectations this year than even a year ago. This is a better team than what it was a year ago, but the offensive line, they went out and got 3 new starters, so they're going to have to gel. Rodgers is going to have to get on the same page with the receivers. We saw during OTAs and minicamp, well, not minicamp for Rodgers, but OTAs at least, we saw Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson show that they are still on the same page, which that's super important because we know he's going to be the #1 target in the offense. Again, with training camp opening next week, really, it's not like we're gonna see him be like, oh, how is he gonna withstand taking a hits? Well, they're in red jerseys. He's not taking any hits. It's kind of just ramping back up. The next month or so is gonna be a lot of guys ramping back up. And honestly, like, this kind of feels like a good transition into the second half of the video, where we can get into Aaron Rodgers and where the league kind of views him at this point. Today's sponsor, The Perfect Gene, has uncrushed over 700,000 nuts. That's 2 nuts per dude. You do the math. I'm not a math guy. These aren't just another pair of your stiff cardboard jeans, and they're definitely not your pancake butt sweatpants or joggers. The Perfect Gene makes great looking, perfect fitting jeans that are stretchy as a kangaroo's pouch, and they hug your assets See what I did there? In all the right places. This special denim fabric is soft as a baby's bottom and built to last her pulling them down every single day. Whether you're a thick daddy or a short king or even anything in between, the Perfect Jean has you covered with 6 fits from skinny all the way up to thick, waist sizes from 26 to 50 and lengths from 26 to 38. They've got the perfect size for you. Who says size doesn't matter? Trust us when we say these are the perfect effing jeans. For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at the Perfect Jean NYC, or Google the Perfect Jean and use my code O'Leary15 for 15% off. So ESPN does this poll every single year where they talk to NFL executives, GMs, coaches, scouts, and they try to come up with consensus top 10 lists at each position. And today, the quarterbacks was listed off, and Aaron Rodgers found himself number 8 on the list. So that, I think, is pretty fair. I mean, if we just want to talk about the list for a second, Patrick Mahomes 1, Burrow, Allen, Jackson, Stafford, Herbert, Stroud, Rodgers at 8. Then the list rounds off with Goff and Dak Prescott. I think this is a pretty good top 10. I mean, you could nitpick a little bit about the order on some of these guys. I think for me, like, I'm good. The top 8 is pretty similar to how I feel it should be. 9 and 10, I think Goff is a little bit too high, and you might be able to make the case that you could take a couple of the honorable mention quarterbacks over Goff and maybe even Prescott. Like, you have Purdy, Love, Hurts, Tua, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence after that. Again, I think it's semantics after that, so I'm not going to go nuts, but I think QB 8 is roughly fair for Aaron Rodgers, and if he plays to that level this year, like a top 10 quarterback in the league, the Jets are going to be very, very, very good. We know how good this defense is. We saw it last year with the worst offense in the NFL, the worst quarterback play, offensive line play in the league, and they were still a top 3 unit in football. Add a functional NFL offense, not even a good NFL offense, just one that actually functions. But think about it. If you get, again, the 8th best quarterback play in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to win you some games. And that's kind of where I wanted to get into, and the connection is, one, in the first half, we talked about how his Achilles, where he is with his Achilles, because that is going to be the most important thing. And he's in a good spot with his Achilles recovery. But it also feels like the league, take out like the outside noise with how people feel about him, with the off the field, or just any of the NFL pundits and big media, like throwing that aside, how does the league feel about him? And they don't view Aaron Rodgers as this major question mark, like, is he a middle of the pack quarterback? Is he a second half, like back of the pack quarterback? They view him as still a very damn good quarterback. Again, they only list 7 guys in front of him who are better quarterbacks going into 2024 than Aaron Rodgers. And that's with him missing a season. That's with him missing a year on top of that at his age, at 40. So coaches, scouts, GMs, any other executives, like, they all view Aaron Rodgers in that very good tier. To me, like, if you're a top 10 quarterback, you are a very, very good quarterback. Sure, we could debate about like who's actually in the elite tier. Is it just Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson? Is Burrow there? Like, whatever. Like, again, we're kind of missing the point. But the Jets haven't seen quarterback play like they're projected to get here. Like, again, if Rodgers finishes top 10 in quarterback play this year, I don't know what Jet fans are going to do. Honestly, I don't. It's great news for Jets fans because they are used to, over the last few years, like 30th to 32nd best quarterback play in the league by team, or like the last time they had decent quarterback play, 2015, Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he wasn't top 8 in the league that year even. You have to go back a really long time, a really, really long time for that to be the case. So, Jet fans, you're allowed to be excited. It is okay to be excited about this football team. Sure, there are questions. I'm not saying it's perfect. They're going to go 17-0 and cakewalk to the Super Bowl. That's not the case at all. But the league still views Aaron Rodgers as a top 10 player at his position. And the Jets have a lot of those based off these lists, which is great news. Guys, that's going to do it for me. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Like the video before you get out of here, and I'll catch you next time.